Hi guys, my name is Hannah and it's a beautiful day outside, so I brought a blanket and everything out here to tell you about the 5 books I read in March. So before we get started, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my reading goals for this year and then how my rating scale works. My reading goals for 2025 is to read 1 book every week. If I can do that, I'm gonna hit 52 books this year, which is, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Last year my reading goal was 35, which was a lot lower than this, and I only hit 31 or 32. I didn't actually reach my goal. I am on schedule, so it's the end of March. I've read 12 books and I'm on my 13th. For every book that I'm gonna tell you about here, I'm gonna read you a quote from the book to kind of just either summarize it or give you my thoughts on it. So how my rating scale is gonna work is 1 to 5 stars. 1 star is basically the book is trash, I hated it, there's nothing good that I can really think of, not memorable at all. 2 stars is the book was bearable, but it really wasn't good at all. 3 stars is okay, I kind of enjoyed that. It wasn't great, but it was a fun read, I guess. Number 4 is we're getting up there now. Number 4 is you're kind of reaching the top almost. It's not perfect, but it was really good, kept me captivated the whole time. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. 5 stars, we all know, perfect book, there's nothing wrong. I will take it to my grave, I will defend it till I die, and I will accept absolutely 0 criticism on it from anyone else. So starting off, the first book that I read in March was Our Chemical Hearts by Crystal Sutherland. Okay, so right off the bat, I rated this 1.5 stars on Goodreads. That can kind of tell you what I thought of it. It's supposed to be a YA romance, I think. Honestly, when I was looking back for this video to find a quote to give you a description, I found a quote, but I found no good quotes. So I'm actually gonna put this back down to 1 star because I hated it that much. Literally, reading that quote is pissing me off. It kind of had a cheating trope in it, but it wasn't labeled as a cheating trope. If I tell you, oh, this book has a cheating trope in it, I feel that's not fully honest, but it low-key is. Anytime that happens, it's an automatic extremely low rating for me. Next up, I read, yep, 6 of Crows. This is an extremely, so I'll just show you 2 and 3. I read the 6 of Crows duology. These are fantasy books. I will be honest, with the first book, 6 of Crows, this was a hard read for me at first. If you don't know what it's about, it basically follows 6? It follows, 6 of Crows, duh.
Are you stupid or something?
It follows 6 characters who are all misfits and thieves and quote unquote bad guys. And they all come together to form this team to basically perform the greatest heist known to man. I ended up giving this 3 stars because there was so much happening and there were so many different POVs that I was just what is going on? I was really confused for the first half of this book. It was looking down, I'm gonna be honest. It was looking like a 2 star for me at first, and then the second half of the book brought it up to 3 stars. I will say my favorite part about this book is the characters in it. The characters were so cool. So the quote that I have for you from that book is, I actually like this quote a lot. We'll see what this night brings. Trickery is not my native tongue, but I may learn to speak it yet. Again, 3 stars. It was a good read. It wasn't my favorite, but it was a good read. Then after that, I read the second book, and I knew if I didn't read this right after, I was never gonna read it, and I owned it, so I was I really need to read this so I can start ticking off the books that I actually own instead of buying new ones all the time. I gave this book 4 stars. Unpopular opinion, I think. I liked this book a lot more than I liked the first one. I had already known the characters, I already knew how the world worked, so this one was way easier for me to follow. I actually read this really fast, even though it's way longer than the first one. I really like this book, and I believe I wrote in my Goodreads review, I think I wrote that this was a near perfect book for me. Near perfect, 4 star, near perfect, I liked it that much. This just follows the same plot. The first one ends on a cliffhanger, so this one picks up on that cliffhanger. I would really recommend this duology, which is funny because when I first started reading the 6 of Crows, the first book, I was really why does this have so much hype around it? it's definitely worth the read. And the quote that I have from the second book, Crooked Kingdom, I'm gonna read it for you. Let me just give you a little context for this quote. There are like some slow burn romances, which as a romance lover, I deeply appreciate it. And this is a quote from one of those romances that is happening. You aren't a flower. You're every blossom in the wood blooming at once. You are a tidal wave. You're a stampede. You are overwhelming. There's no one I want more. There's nothing I want more than to be overwhelmed by you. That was so cute to me. When I read that in the book, I was literally like, underline, highlight, this is so cute, oh my god. Next up, I read So That Happened by Katie Bailey. This was actually my book club's pick for the month. It's a YA rom-com, I guess. It was okay. It was not memorable, but it was like easy to read. But there was a lot of cringe writing, in my opinion. It kind of felt like something I would read in middle school and be like, oh, that's so cute. And now reading as an adult, I'm kind of like, ew. I rated it 3 stars for that reason. I do remember that towards the end of the book, there was like this problem that arose. When you're thinking, oh, I have a problem, how can I solve this? And then the way she thought to solve the problem, I think I audibly laughed because I was like, this is pathetic. Like, this is the stupidest reaction. I feel like as a general rule with rom-coms, there's gonna be some cringy stuff in it. I went into it expecting some cringy things, so when I went to it expecting some cringy moments like that, and then they happened, I was kind of just like okay with it because I already expected it. I hope that makes sense. The quote that I have for it though is, this is actually a good quote, I did like this one. Vulnerability is not about winning or losing, it's about having the courage to show up even when you can't control the outcome. It was an okay book. Nothing I hated about it, nothing I loved about it, just kind of in that middle space somewhere. Okay guys, the 5th and final book that I read this month was Centers on the Reaping. This was my most anticipated book for the year, and it was rightfully so, because this book was amazing. 5 stars immediately, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 13 plus stars. I find no flaws in it. I will take no criticism on it. Okay, one thing about me, I've read the Hunger Games books. I think I've reread them all 3 times. I love those books, and this book fits right in with the series. Most people like Catching Fire the most. In my opinion, this was better than Catching Fire. And hear me out, because I loved Catching Fire. If I had to use one sentence to tell you about this book and how it made me feel, I would say that Suzanne Collins gently wrote this masterpiece of a novel and then catapulted it 100 miles per hour straight into my heart and head to destroy me. She was going for the kill. She was going for the kill with me on this one. She wanted me to feel pain, she wanted me to feel sorrow, she wanted me to feel every emotion that you can possibly think of, and then she wanted you to feel hope. And then when you felt that hope in those very few moments, she wanted to humble you, and she did. Every time I felt some hope throughout this book, I was very quickly humbled. I think I cried like 6 or 7 times at least when I started reading this. If you live under a rock for some reason and you don't know what this book is, Sunrise on the Reaping, it's the 5th book in the Hunger Games series. It follows Haymitch's trials, or not trials, Haymitch's games. In the 50th Hunger Games, he competed, he came out the victor. We know him from the other books. It follows his games, which for his games, it was the second quarter quell. For that specific game, they decided to draw 4 tributes from every district. So instead of 24 tributes going into arena to fight it out to the death, it was 48. Haymitch was one of my favorite characters in the other books. So, and even in the movies, how can you not like Haymitch? He went through so much more pain than I can literally ever imagine. Just seeing his younger self and like the way he thought and everything that happened to make him into the Haymitch we know, she just does it so beautifully. She writes it so flawlessly. I will say, I was talking to my fiance, I was talking to Andrew about this. When I was reading this, I was literally like, I cannot keep this inside. I have to talk to somebody about this. He was right next to me. So he drew the short straw. I was literally telling him this though. I literally think that Suzanne Collins, the author of the Hunger Games series, might be one of the best authors of our generation. I'll tell you why. Hear me out, because I'm justified in this opinion. What other author do you know that can write like 4 to 5 other books that have the exact same plot, a lot of the same characters, and still make the reader feel like they're reading something brand new that they've never seen before, that they've never read before, that they've never heard of before. Because I've read the Hunger Games books, the other Hunger Games books. I've read Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I've read all those books. I know the plots, I know the characters, I know what's gonna happen. They're gonna go into arena, they're gonna fight to the death, blah, 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 blah. But literally when I was reading this book, I was literally reading it being like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? They're seriously gonna go into this arena? Like, what's the arena gonna be like? Does Haymitch actually survive? Are you serious? Did I imagine that whole thing up? Like, did I imagine him surviving up? Did I imagine that he's a mentor and to Katniss? Did I imagine that? I don't know any other author who can write the same exact plot, pretty much the same exact book with the same exact characters over and over and over again and still make me feel like I'm reading something brand new. Those are the 5 books I read. Oh my gosh, I didn't do a quote. Oh my gosh. Okay, the quote that I picked for this one, short and sweet. They will not use my tears for their entertainment. That book was so good. I'm literally still thinking about it. I'll think about it forever. That's one of my favorite books I think I've ever read in my life, honestly. So these are the 5 books I read in the month of March. I love reading, so this was really fun for me to film. Let me know if you've ever read any of these before, because I know that I have some friends where I've rated a book that they've been like hyped up. They're like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best books I've read, 5 stars, and then I've read it and been like, this book sucked. So let me know if, you had any of those same opinions, especially with the Chemical Hearts one. That's a really popular book and I hated it, personally. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you for watching, and I hope to make another video soon.